Welcome to a video where I showcase 3 things that you may or may not know. Some of these facts may be in plain sight to older players, but to those who are new to the franchise, these may be in fact the first time that they are hearing about them. Let's get started. Starting things off relatively simple. Did you know? Across the many ports of the first PvZ game, some of the ports have certain zombie types that can only be encountered in their respective games. On the console and DS ports of the game, variants such as the Trashcan zombie can be located. These function exactly like screen door zombies, except they move significantly slower than standard zombies. In specifically the DS versions of the game, there exists baseball versions of both the standard zombie and the catapult zombie, which also appear in their own exclusive game mode on the DS version. These variants likely exist within these versions of the game as a way of adding in new content to the game in the form of new enemies, even if they are just reskins of existing ones, and in Trashcan Zombie's case, a weaker version of the screen door. Secondly, heading all the way to Garden Warfare 2. Did you also know? As pointed out by Silent Boy, the Unicorn Chomper's special ability actually has a hidden statistic that allows him to be much stronger than one may realize. When the player uses the warp, for approximately 1 second afterwards, they will be completely invincible to any form of damage. And because the warp has a relatively short deploy time of only half a second, if you can time it just right, you can avoid potentially fatal instances of damage. This however only applies to the Unicorn Chomper, as testing it on the Twilight Chomper shows that this effect does not apply to his warp, and only the Unicorn Chompers. So now, with this knowledge, you'll be able to run into more risky situations, knowing that you have a good second of complete invincibility, and bullshit your way to victory through the power of newfound Chomper logic. Lastly, heading back to Garden Warfare 1. Did you know? When the game first launched back in 2014, Rugby Star used to be noticeably weaker than what he currently is now, with one major exception, that being his overheat upgrade. During the first few months of the game's launch, the Rugby Star's overheat upgrade was accidentally made far more powerful than intended, and allowed this motherfucker to fire for over 30 entire seconds, before eventually suffering an overheat. The footage you are seeing right now is a rough recreation of how long he can fire for, which honestly made up for his lackluster damage output. Sadly, this bug was eventually patched, though he was compensated with the damage buffs that bring him up to where he is today. So whilst his overheat upgrade may no longer be busted, at least in the process, he became a much better character overall because of it.